In their latest bid to stir up a moral panic around trans people, journalists have taken to asking Labour politicians who can and can't have penises. The answers given have tended to be evasive and awkward, but not Emily Thornberry. She gave what I think is the perfect answer to the question on LBC.
Emily Thornberry, one once asked, can a woman have a penis, said, people are complex and different. It's up to listeners to decide if I've given a full answer to that. Are you ready to give us a slightly more detailed rather than a nuanced answer? Emily Thornberry, to that question, can a woman have a penis?
Most women are like me, or the women MPs, or my mum or my daughter. Of course, most women are, biologically adult females. There are, however, a minority of people who are born into the wrong gender, who are deeply unhappy and marginalized people who, frankly, we should have a bit of compassion for and should not be using them in some sort of culture war. Women who are trans deserve to be recognized, and yes, therefore some of them will have penises. Frankly, I'm not looking up their skirts. I don't care. What I care about is that they're looked after properly and that they are not used as a political football by a prime minister who ought to know better.
Such a good answer, I think. The vast majority of women won't have penises. Some who are trans will, but I won't be looking up their skirts. Straight to the point, not evasive. All other Labour politicians have seemed pretty embarrassed to answer that question because obviously some women do have penises because some trans women have penises and trans women are women. What she said is uncomplicatedly true, but the whole reason that journalists have been asking the Labour Party that is because they want to whip up fear. They don't really care that they're sort of throwing trans people under the bus to try and get their ratings up. But also they know that they're almost daring the Labour politicians to say what they actually believe. And Emily Thornberry did it there. She used humour, which I think, makes it more persuasive. And I just thought, spot on. I wish more of them were able to answer questions like that.
I think these old men obsessed with penises do need to take it to therapy rather than mask it as a kind of political conversation. I mean, I wish I was there to talk to this assortment of aging men and to say, people's bills are rising, there's a war on, the seas are rising, the planet's warming, our police are exposed, if you care about this, for endemic misogyny, and you are obsessed with asking questions about genitalia, with prodding around and inspecting and exploring different people's genitalia, at least verbally. And in doing so, you want to harass one of the most abused groups in our society, a group with higher rates of homelessness, suicide. And so you make life materially worse for people by your kind of prurient obsession with policing the gender binary, your desperate anxiety about people with the wrong genitalia crossing over that binary. I think it is important to ask serious questions about why this is happening. Moral panics respond to the experience of social crises with that comforting provision of an object onto which to project all our anxieties. So spectres of black crime did it in the 1970s, as Stuart Hall and others wrote. Predatory gay men did it in the 1980s, so-called. Single mothers and asylum seekers in the 1990s. Muslims in the 2000s under New Labour. Benefit scroungers in the 2010s. Now we have a dizzying array of objects for desperate moral panic in this epoch of crisis. We have swarms of migrants. We have anti-racist traitors to our proud history in Black Lives Matter. We have anti-Semitic Corbynites disloyal to NATO and the West. And now trans people have been added to the list. It's a series of moral panics from an established order that doesn't have a real way of addressing the actual crises people face in their lives.